People of God, I want to tell you something. You are not forgotten. You are not forgotten. We are not forgotten. God knows our name. He knows our name. Listen, I need to hurry up so I can get out of here, right? But I got to drop this for you, people of God. God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. And as I've told you many times before, God is always going to be with his people of God. So I don't care what it look like in the world. How many of you know sometimes chaos can be God working for his people? All right. God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. He gets all the honor, all the glory, all the credit. And this morning, I was in the book of Shoftim. Shoftim. What tongue is that? It means judges, the book of Judges, right? Tongue is just merely a language, right? And anybody speaking in tongues, they should be able to interpret if they're not doing it in private. But anyway, people of God, God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses, and all things are working together for the good of those who love the Lord, Yahweh, and are called according to his purpose. And what the Father had me and was showing me in the book of Shoftim this morning, in my Sefer I was reading, was Gideon, right? How he raised up Gideon to deliver the people. After Israel, our ancestors, were disobedient, dishonoring God again, serving other gods, he gave them over to the Midianites, right? And the Midianites treated them so harshly. They destroyed their crops and everything like that. Every time they plant a garden and all that, and they cried out, Lord, but they suffered because they left their God. You know, they keep leaving God. Every time they would cry out to God, God delivered them. God always was with his people. Then they would go and serve other gods, and God would give them over to the hands of their enemies, you know, because they were in disobedience. God people got to stick with them, be loyal, be faithful, be a holy people, stay a peculiar people, right? So anyway, God had me in the book of Judges. Now, I compared that to where I am in the book of Judges from the King James, and everything seems to be pretty much similar. The book of Shoftim and the Sefer has all the original Hebrew names, but I am compelled to share this with you this morning, and I need to hurry up and get to it. God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses, right? And a lot of God's people's weaknesses are you're seeing that now. We're seeing a lot of our weaknesses, things beyond our control in a lot of areas. We know that there is a God working for us, protecting us, and fighting for us, right? So I want you to pay attention to this book of Judges. I'm going to read it from the New English International Version so that I can just read it through like a story and you can just understand it, you know, as I read it. I'm going to read Judges chapter 6 and let me see. I'm going to read Judges chapter 6 and I'll stop somewhere in chapter 7, and then you can go on and continue to study before and after to see the power of God, how his strength is made perfect in our weaknesses, right? So anyway, in Judges chapter 6, where God is going to deliver Israel after they sinned against him, right? So chapter 6. Once again, the people of Israel sinned against the Lord. So he let the people of Midian rule them for 7 years. They were in captivity, in slavery for 7 years for their rebellion, right? Sound like somebody related to me. Sound like my people. These my people. Our people. But anyway, the Midianites were stronger than Israel, and the people of Israel hid from them in caves and other places in the hills. Whenever the Israelites would plant their crops, the Midianites would come with the Amalekites and the desert tribes and attack them. They would camp on the land and destroy the crops as far south as the area around Gaza. They would take all the sheep, cattle, and donkeys and leave nothing for the Israelites to live on. They would come with their livestock and tents as thick as locusts. They and their camels were too many to count. They came and devastated the land, and Israel was helpless against them. Sound like something familiar to you, people of God? See, Israel was treated like just animals, dogs, because of their rebellion to God. You know, nobody looks at the root of this issue. The root of it is they rebelled against God. They serve other gods, kept leaving God. So they were handed over to the hands of their enemies. And for 7 years, right? Mistreated, plant garden. You have people come and take all your cattle, growing your own, raising your own cow, your sheep, all that, doing good. People just come and dominate you and take from you, make you their slaves, right? Shouldn't have been rebellion to God. Does that sound like ancestors that I would want to be praying to? I don't pray to my ancestors. God bless them. Rest in peace. I pray to Yahweh, Jehovah, Jireh, Jesus, Yeshua, Adonai, Lord, Messiah, right? I pray to the God who answers by fire, right? I don't pray to no ancestors because our ancestors kept messing up. They kept getting it wrong. How they going to protect me? No. I pray to the Most High Yah. But anyway, I don't know why I went off on that, but chapter 7. So Israel was helpless against these Midianites. Chapter 6, verse 7. Then the people of Israel cried out to the Lord for help against the Midianites, and he sent them a prophet who brought them this message from the Lord, the God of Israel. I brought you out of slavery in Egypt. I rescued you from the Egyptians and from the people who fought you here in this land. I drove them out as you advanced, and I gave you their land. I told you that I am the Lord your God. Remember, God is a jealous God now. God a big baby. All right, so anyway, I told you that I am the Lord your God, and that you should not worship the gods of the Amorites, whose land you are now living in, but you have not listened to me. Verse 11. Then the Lord's angel came to the village of Ophrah and sat under the oak tree that belonged to Joash, a man of the clan of Abiezer. His son Gideon was threshing some wheat secretly in a winepress so that the Midianites would not see him. The Lord's angel appeared to him there and said, "The Lord is with you, brave and mighty." Gideon said to him, this is Gideon talking back to the Lord's angel now. "If I may ask, sir, why has all this happened?" Look at Gideon in his wisdom, because if somebody tell you the Lord with you and you suffering, but he's asking from a sincere and innocent place, right? But God is choosing him to be a prophet, to deliver the people. But listen. So Gideon said to him, verse 13, "If I may ask, sir, why has all this happened to us if the Lord is with us? What happened to all the wonderful things that our fathers told us the Lord used to do? How he brought them out of Egypt? The Lord has abandoned us and left us to the mercy of the Midianites," right? So Gideon is looking at it from what they're going through. He ain't thinking about what the people did. But anyway, he asked a sincere question. So verse 14, then the Lord ordered him, "Go with all your great strength and rescue Israel." This is the Lord speaking to Midianite. "Go with all your great strength and rescue Israel from the Midianites. I myself am sending you." Look at Gideon reply. "But Lord, how can I rescue Israel? My clan is the weakest in the tribe of Manasseh, and I am the least important member of my family." So he says, I'm the weakest person in my family. You can't be talking about sending me. Remember, God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses, right? So anyway, verse 16, the Lord answered, "You can do it because I will help you." Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Come on, y'all. Come on now. I know y'all got to feel the joy of the Lord, especially if you're still hanging on in this video. Listen, you can do it. I will help you. You will crush the Midianites as easily as if they were only one man. That the power of God, baby. When that power of God with you, I ain't care. You could be 1 against 1,000,000. God will let you defeat your enemies. Anyway, 17. Gideon replied, "If you are pleased with me, give me some proof that you are really the Lord." See, now he getting a little shaky now because he believe in God. But sometimes you just need clarity, right? Moses asked for clarity. So listen, 18. "Please do not leave until I bring you an offering of food." That's what Gideon is telling the angel of the Lord. He said, "I will stay until you come back." That's what the angel said. So Gideon, verse 19, so Gideon went into his house and cooked a young goat and used a bushel of flour to make bread without any yeast. He put the meat in a basket and the broth in a pot, brought them to the Lord's angel under the oak tree and gave them to him. So listen to what I'm hearing as I was reading that. You see, so Gideon, he doesn't want to rebel against God. He's willing to do what God is telling him to do, but he's a little nervous. He's a little probably afraid, a little unsure. He want to make sure this God. He want to test this word, right? He tell that ain't wait, let me go cook you something. You know, when he know that this God, he gonna be obedient, but he got to know, right? Some of you been in a position like that. God telling you something, and then you're not too sure. You just wait and tarry with God. You got to get clarity and know. When you know that it's God, oh baby, you will take off, right? This is the same way Gideon. This your family member right here. But anyway, where was I? Same way Gideon was. So Gideon went in the house, made the food. He cooked the young goat. Verse 19. Used a bushel of flour to make bread without any yeast. He put the meat in a basket and the broth in a pot, brought them to the Lord's angel under the oak tree, and gave them to him. Verse 20. The angel told him, put the meat and the bread on this rock and pour the broth over them. Gideon did so. Then the Lord's angel reached out and touched the meat and the bread with the end of the stick he was holding. Fire came out of the rock and burned up the meat and the bread. Then the angel disappeared, right? So God consumed it. That means the offering was accepted, right? So, where was I? The bread disappeared. I lost my place just now. Okay, I got it. Then the angel disappeared. Gideon, verse 22, Gideon then realized that it was the Lord's angel he had seen. And he said in terror, Sovereign Lord, I have seen your angel face to face. But the Lord told him, peace, don't be afraid. You will not die. Right? Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and named it, The Lord is Peace. Verse 25, that night the Lord told Gideon, take your father's bull, because his father had like I said, the children of Israel, they were in disobedience to God, right? Because they were serving other gods. So this is what caused them to anger. At the beginning of verse 6, when it said the people of Israel sinned against God, they were all serving false gods and idols. They took up what the people in the land did. But anyway, listen. So now God is telling Gideon, take your father's bull, verse 25, your father's bull, and another bull 7 years older. Tear down your father's altar to Baal, right? The false god. And cut down the symbol of the goddess Asherah, which is beside it. Build a well-constructed altar to the Lord your God on top of this mound. Then take the second bull and burn it whole as an offering, using for firewood the symbol of Asherah you have cut down. So Gideon took 10 of his servants and did what the Lord had told him. He was too afraid of his family and the people in the town to do it by day, so he did it at night, see, because he was scared of his family because they believe in his false gods and stuff, so he ain't want nobody to see him. So he was willing to be obedient to God, but he waited until the nightfall. He waited until it got dark so nobody could see him. But he was obedient to the Father now. So verse 28. When the people in town got up early the next morning, they found that the altar to Baal and the symbol Asherah had been cut down, and that the second bull had been burned on the altar that had been built there. They asked each other, who did this? They investigated and found out that Gideon, the son of Joash, had done it. Then they said to Joash, bring your son out here so that we can kill him. That's how mad these people was over these false gods. Any of y'all experience that now? Who God used you as his mouthpiece? These people who into all this false stuff and serving other God and doing things that's not pleasing to God, divination, all that. Don't they secretly despise you and get mad and try to kill you in secret, send spells and curses against you? They power ain't stronger than God power. Some of them realize it now and coming out of it. But anyway, so they got upset. They said, they told Joab, bring your son so we can kill him. He tore down the altar to Baal and cut down the symbol of Asherah beside it. Joash loved his son now. But Joash said to all those who confronted him, are you arguing for Baal? Are you defending him? Anyone who argues for him will be killed before the morning. If Baal is a god, let him defend himself. See, Joash standing up for his son now. He said, if Baal is a god, let him defend himself, right? Hold on a second. I'm losing my place again. It is his altar that was torn down, right? So basically, that's what Joash said. Okay, you arguing for Baal? If he a god, let him come and defend himself. Let him do the work, right? See, Joash got a little wisdom. Verse 32. From then on, Gideon was known as Jerubbaal, because Joash said, let Baal defend himself. It is his altar that was torn down. 33. Then all the Midianites, the Amalekites, and the desert tribes assembled, crossed the Jordan River, and camped in Jezreel Valley. The Spirit of the Lord took control of Gideon, and he blew a trumpet to call the men of the clan of Abiezer to follow him. He sent messengers throughout the territory of both parts of Manasseh to call them to follow him. Where am I now? I lost my place. Okay, he sent messengers to the tribes of Asher, Zebulun, and Naphtali, and they also came to join him. Verse 36. Then Gideon said to God, you say that you have decided to use me to rescue Israel. Well, I am putting some wool. So Gideon want to be reassured now. How many of you know we need reassurance? Y'all men know what I'm talking about. You know, we women, we be needing reassurance sometimes. Y'all be wondering like, is she crazy? You know? A woman need to be reassured. But anyway, men need to be reassured sometimes too. They just some act like they don't. But look, Gideon said, you say that you have decided to use me to rescue Israel. Verse 37. Well, I am putting some wool on the ground where we thresh the wheat. If in the morning there is dew only on the wool, but not on the ground, then I will know that you are going to use me to rescue Israel, right? See, Gideon, and he got heart now. He got courage. He nervous. He a little bit intimidated, but he knows that as long as he got the favor of the Father and he's reassured by God, oh, he gonna do what God tell him to do, baby. Gideon is a warrior. Okay, so verse 38. That is exactly what happened. When Gideon got up early the next morning, he squeezed the wool and wrung enough dew out of it to fill a bowl with water. Then Gideon said to God, don't be angry with me. He going to ask one more reassurance now. He said, don't be angry with me. Let me speak just once more. He's so humble. He's so humble. And God know his heart of his son. God know his son just kind of nervous because these people that he going to have to come up against, these are a lot of people. These people is, he going to have to defend Israel, bring them out of slavery, deliver them from the hands of the Midianites, right? So anyway, he said, don't be angry with me, but just let me speak once more. Please, let me make one more test with the wool. This time, let the wool be dry and the ground be wet. See? So if God come through, then he know, God, okay, this is God. He just need reassurance. Verse 40. That night, God did that very thing. The next morning, the wool was dry, but the ground was wet. Okay, going into chapter 7, this is where Gideon's going to defeat the Midianites and deliver the children of Israel, right? Chapter 7. One day, Gideon and all his men got up early and camped beside Harod Spring. The Midianite camp was in the valley to the north of them by Moreh Hill. The Lord said to Gideon, the men you have are too many for me to give them victory over the Midianites. They might think that they had won by themselves, and so give me no credit. Basically what God is telling Gideon is, okay, it's too much of y'all. You didn't organize all these men or whatever, but it's too much of y'all. Y'all look strong. But remember what I said, God's strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. So God is telling Gideon, it's too much of y'all. Y'all might go down there, and when I deliver them in your hands, because it's so many of y'all, the men may become prideful. They may think that they did it based on their own strength, right? So God want to get all the credit. He want to show the people, and he's doing this really to show Israel his power. And so these people can know that they have a God for them. They have a God that's fighting for them, right? And that's what he wants us to know this morning, people of God. He wants us to know that he is fighting for us. We have a God that's supreme, that's greater than everything that's going on now. That's bigger than any problem, any sickness, any financial trouble, any worry, any legal troubles. You understand what I'm telling you? God wants his people to know his power, all right? So that's what he's telling Gideon here. It's too much of y'all. You got to leave some of them behind, cut off some of them men that y'all got. I want you to go in fewer number so you can know that it's not by your power you defeating these people. It's by my power, by my favor. Remember, favor of the Lord is all we need. I did a few videos, I think, when we have the favor and the protection of God is more than enough or something. But anyway, that's what God is telling Gideon, right? It's too many of you. So he said, you might win and give me no credit. So verse 3, chapter 7, verse 3, Judges chapter 7, verse 3. God is saying, announce to the people, anyone who is afraid should go back home, and we will stay here at Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men went back, but 10,000 stayed, okay? So remember, they got 10,000 men with them now, right? Check out God. Verse 4. So they got 10,000 now. 22,000 went home, but 10,000 stayed. So that told you there was a total of 32,000. So verse 4, now they got 10,000 men. Let's check this out now. Verse 4, then the Lord said to Gideon, you still have too many men. Take them down to the water, and I will separate them for you there. If I tell you a man should go with you, he will go. If I tell you a man should not go with you, he will not go. Verse 5, Gideon took the men down to the water, and the Lord told him, separate everyone who laps up the water with his tongue like a dog licking that water. Separate them from everyone who gets down on their knees to drink the water. The Lord said to Gideon, verse 7, I will rescue you and give you victory. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped over some. Separate the ones who lap like a dog, everyone who gets out on his knee. Verse 6, there were 300 men who scooped up the water with their hands and lapped it. All the others got down on their knees to drink. So 300 out of 10,000 tells you the ones that got down on their knees was how much? 10,000 minus 300 is 9,700. Look at God now. God, you a show off. But anyway, listen. So the Lord said to Gideon, I will rescue you and give you victory over the Midianites with the 300 men who lapped the water. Tell everyone else to go home. So Gideon sent all the Israelites home except the 300 who kept all the supplies and trumpets. The Midianite camp was below them in the valley. Boom. All right, listen, y'all. I got to get out of here. I'm stopping at verse 9. Continue to study. Continue to read. Go on in Judges chapter 7, chapter 6 and 7. I stopped at chapter 7, verse 9. But go on and see the power of our God. He allowed Gideon to take only 300 men. They was up to 32,000. Then they sent 22,000 back. Say they were scared. Then 10,000. Then God divided 300 from the 9,700 and told Gideon take the 300. Right? God don't want nobody. His glory shall not be shared with no man. The power of God is real strong, and his strength is made perfect in our weaknesses. So continue to study to show yourselves approved. Know who you are, child of God. We got to know who we are and know the power of our God. Faith comes by what? Hearing. Hearing what? The word of God. So continue to hear this word. Study it. Go on. Continue on in chapter 7 and look at what God did with Gideon and his 300 men. And let's not be like our ancestors. Let's don't keep serving God and falling back off from God. Let's stick with him all the days of our lives. Even when it gets hard, even when temptation comes, let's tell him about the temptation. He already know. You know, the spirit gets willing, sometimes the flesh get weak. He know that too. But let's confess it to him. Be real with God and he'll be real with us. So anyway, I'm full of joy this morning. I hope this word has brought you joy. Know that the power of God cannot be matched by any other power in this world. All right. So anyway, let's go be great today. Know that you are the light of the world. Don't ever let your light grow dark. Keep shining bright. And we know that the blood of Jesus, Yeshua, is the only blood that has some power. Let's go be great today, people of God.